Ye even said, yo, I didn't produce Down and Out. One of my younger producers produced it. And from that point forward, Ye went out the window as far as because now I don't know what you produce. Like, this isn't, we're not even talking Kanye now or Kanye My Dark Twisted Fantasy. This is still Kanye in the beginning stages of becoming Kanye West. And if you already let me know you got young producers working up under you, then I can't, now you're out that conversation. Not that I don't like your music, but you're just not going to be in the who's the best producer conversation because I don't know what you produced. So whenever I try to do a Best of Dre mix, I try my best to not go past Doggy Style, because I feel like 2001 is when he had Mailman and other cats around him producing.
Scott Storch?
Yeah, Scott Storch, you know, who said, hey, I did forget about Dre. I did not forget about Dre, but still DRE. You know, you have all these accusations, and it's, you know, Scott Storch said he did the joint Fast Life for Bilal that said produced by Dre. So, again, now I don't know what you produce. So that takes Dre. So really, when I talk about Dre, I'm talking about straight out of Compton to Doggy Style. And that's where I kind of stop with Dre. You know, and even with those beats, which are incredible, right. I still give it to Premier because, you know, he's never had that claim of, you know, I made this beat and Preemo didn't. And, you know, the scratch. And Premo's scratch, to me, I think, go down as the best in all-time hip-hop. I mean, it's to the point now, cats don't want Premier to produce, but they'll still bring you in. They'll be like, yo, but Premier scratched it. So I still think Premier what Premier would do with a quarter a second. I used to do the show up in Baltimore, Strictly Hip Hop, and my man Roots, back in the early 90s, we had this show called Milk Crates, where we would play you the original and then play you how the producer would use it. And for the exception of Dilla and Preemo, that works for everybody. I could put on Where Alchemist got We Gonna Make It From, and you're gonna hear it. But with Dilla and Preemo, I've played stuff for people like, there you go, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's One Day from J. Rule. And they're like, nah, play that again. Because he's taking a second of a beat, or he's taking like a two stabs and redoing everything. Like, the stuff that Preemo and Dilla did, and that says a lot to me, you know, that you can't just put on, oh, that's where, you know, Premier got, you know, B.I. versus Friendship from the Gangstar, Moment of Truth album. That's one of my favorite, this Isaac Hayes thing that he just chopped the hell out of again. So that's why I got to give it to Preemo, man. I mean, and again, there's no knock on Dre, because, I mean, Dre, you know, I hate to say it like this because I never want to discredit somebody, but I always tell people when you're doing a who's the best and it really gets close, it's almost like a horse race, and it's got to come down to a photo finish. So I had to start nitpicking because it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but when you get this close to two great people, I do now have to start talking about the flaws in your game almost. And it's like with Dre really, when you listen to Straight Outta Compton, I hear the Bomb Squad. I hear the Bomb Squad could have made that beat. When I hear Fuck the Police, I mean, shit, they sampled the horns from James Brown, that PE sample for Night of Living Bassheads. After Police starts off with that dun dun dun, the grunt joint, I think it's called. I'm not sure. I'm not my brain again, but sampled the JB. So I'm like, so no knock on Dre, but his style was very heavily influenced when they came out of the Bomb Squad, which isn't shocking to me that Cube went to get with the Bomb Squad and made the classic in America's Most Wanted, because it's almost like if you can't get Dre, then you might as well get the people who Dre got his style from, you know. So, you know, but again, not trying to knock on Dre, but like I said, when you talk about who's better, LeBron or Jordan, at some time or point, I got to start pointing out the holes in your game. Like, I have to. Like, it's no hate, but I have to.
It was about last year, maybe September, but I had a cousin of mine gave me an external hard drive and had a whole bunch of, just tons of music on it, and I hadn't moved any of the NWA material. I hadn't had any of that on my iPod or digitally. And when I got into this hard drive, I pulled some NWA stuff over to my iPod, and as it started shuffling through, that just like you said, it became crystal clear. I was like, man, Dre was so East Coast influenced in his early work, and it's no knock on him, but it just goes back to, this is where it originated from. So it wasn't until later on when he really started to differentiate his sound from, the architects of the game. But I'll just say this and we can move on, man. I always equate Dr. Dre to, like, and even with this Compton project, I equate him to like Phil Jackson. I mean, he's gonna assemble the best group of talent there is because that's what, I mean, he has that stature now. Phil Jackson does not have to go to Sacramento and start a team. Right. He does not have to go to not Golden State anymore, but Denver maybe. He doesn't have to go to New Orleans. He doesn't have to take these fixer-uppers on where he has to go make something out of nothing. His stature in the game makes it so that commands that I go to a spot with everything in place already, or maybe in the second year I add a piece. But that's what Dre should win. I mean, this album should have been great because everybody wants to work with you. So I always equate him to Phil Jackson, right. And then Preemo, I equate him to Larry Brown because Larry Brown, if you offer him a contract, he will come coach your team.
That is true.
He will come coach your team, and he gonna in 2 years he gonna get him above 500. But when I look at what Preemo did, one of my favorite beats of all time is probably that joint with is it the Mega with damn, it was two cats.
Are you talking about All City, the actual?
Exactly, the actual. Yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks. Period.
Oh yeah, that's bonkers.
For him to give that to some nobodies, I mean, no disrespect to those two brothers because they did their thing on that track, but
yeah, but no, at the time nobody knew who All City was. The only reason why I even listened to the single was because Preemo did the A side and Pete Rock did the B side, and I was like, yo, who are these off-brand dudes who got Preemo and Pete on their joint? So I mean, they can't take no disrespect by that. Nobody knew them. You know what I mean? So. And both right. joints, the actual and the B-side that Pete did, Priceless, was both of bananas. Both of them joints was crazy. Right.
But Preemo has, like I said, he has worked with, of course he's worked with all the A-side, the A-list guys, in Big, Nas, I don't know if you got anything.
I mean, and the thing with the thing that you can always say about Preemo, and I tell people, is not only has he worked with the best, but he's brought MCs back from the dead. And what I mean by that is, because let's just be honest, nobody was trying to hear Rakim no more by the time until I heard It's Been a Long Time, I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Same thing. KRS had fallen off to me production-wise after, the different album. I mean, him coming back with Return of the Boom Bap, like, yo, Preemo was not only bringing dudes back from the dead, but he was introducing you to these new cats. This dude was on Nas's first album, Jay-Z's first album, Biggie's first album, and not too many people can say that. Dre, like you said, great eye for talent. Dre's going to bring you DOC. He's going to introduce you to Snoop. He's going to introduce you to M. He's going to introduce you to Game. He's going to introduce you to Kendrick. My biggest thing with Dre is the producer thing is just so many people always like, well, he's the Quincy Jones of producing. And I'm like, see, that's where I beg to differ because hip-hop is unlike any other genre of music out there. So when cats are like, well, why can't Dre or why ain't Puff a producer? And I always equate it to when you was growing up and your moms would be like, be in the house by 9 o'clock. And you'd be like, well, Sean's mom let him stay up till 12 o'clock. And she'd say what? Well, then go live with Sean then. But in this house, you're going to have your butt in here at 9 o'clock. And that's how I feel about hip-hop. It's like, stop comparing us to R&B. Stop saying, well, Quincy Jones ain't never done no hip-hop. So if Dre want to go do Quincy Jones, go do Quincy Jones and go make some R&B stuff. But if you're making hip-hop, you need to make your beat. I have never, in all the years of me making beats, I've never even produced in front of somebody. My wife is probably the only person who's ever seen me make a beat because it gets iffy. Even my man Mill, shout out to him. He used to dig for Kanye and different producers. And he'd be like, yo, Kel, I'm gonna send you over one of my sample tapes, and you could kind of flip through the sample. I was like, nope. I want to find my own samples because then when something blows up, then you're gonna be on XL on Vlad TV talking about, I can't kill that beat. But nope, I do everything in house. So
Kill, and that's the thing. What you said earlier. I don't even think Preemo doesn't even strike me as the guy that would allow another producer to even help him. I don't even need to hear if there's any rumors or rumblings and grumblings about him having help. He just does not come across as a guy that's going to let anybody else help him work.
Right. And I mean, and he made Compton. He has a beat on Compton that Dre, made bigger. Right. which is cool. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, who doesn't want to be on a Dr. Dre album? But yeah, and you've never heard those accusations. You just never heard them. You know, and like I said, with hip hop is like baseball. You know, baseball cares about its stats. The second they hear, and here's the key, baseball purists are very particular about their stats. What's the home run record? Oh, he's using drugs? Nope, cut him off. He done. You know, NBA and NFL, we're not that big on that. We don't care about the stats like that. And baseball is like hip hop. And when you deal with a hip hop purist, the same way you deal with a baseball purist, we're very big on, did you write that? Did you really produce that? And if you didn't, well, now I can't talk about you. Like I said, Kanye's gone. I don't want to hear nothing about Kanye no more because I don't know what he produced. And that's the difference. So, but I feel you, bro.
And my last thing, and this is no knock, but you just hit on it with Dre making it bigger. One of Dre's biggest songs, which is California, the beat came from, I know, Ultramagnetic Man did it first.
Ultramagnetic Funky. Funky is the first people who used that Joe Cocker Woman to Woman sample. One of the first joints that made me want to even love hip hop even more was that joint Funky, and then EPMD turned around and used it on an Unfinished Business with Knick Knack Paddywhack. I mean, that beat has been around for years, you know. So yeah, you're right. One of his biggest records is a straight jack of a song that came out in 1986, and then came back in 1989, and then probably came back in 98. You know, so
right, and that's why, like I said, that's just where I go with my argument, and this is why I shut up when I'm in the barbershop, and that's why I appreciate somebody's your tweets, and when I see some of your comments on my timeline, you gotta tell me your whole argument. Like, don't just tell me. You know what I'm saying? I can never argue with anybody if they tell me who their favorite rapper is. I need to know the other three or the other four beyond that favorite rapper, because then that lets me know whether or not I should even engage in this conversation with you based on, you know what I'm saying? Once I get a feel, because when you get to your third, fourth, and fifth favorites, that gives me a feel for what you just like. Or, you know, are you just giving credit, or you know, are you digging beyond your own preferences and just throwing in, you know, a wider range of people? But a lot of us, we just throw out there what we like.
Right. And I tell you this too, take this to the barbershop with you, because this is my mantra in life. I'm going to argue facts, not opinions. I'm going to give you facts, and that's what we're going to deal with. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you know, facts versus opinions, man. And that's the thing, you know, we ain't talking about, you know, of course, your favorite rapper. I mean, my favorite basketball player is probably Allen Iverson or Isaiah Thomas, but I would never sit here and tell you that they're the best ever. And that's what people like to do with hip-hop. They'll tell you their favorite MC is the best ever. And I'm like, we're talking about two totally different things. Who your favorite is and who the best ever. Two totally, because if you're ever in the barbershop and somebody tells you Allen Iverson is the best basketball player ever, just shut up, because I can't even talk to you. You know what I mean? I don't even know what you're talking about. That's your favorite player, but it doesn't mean that he's the best. And when you talk about best, now let's go to the facts of the matter. And at the end of the day, people can't argue facts, you know?
Right. Exactly. Now, you know, AI might be the best below 6'1", 6'2".
Now, when we start throwing the parentheses on the best ever, yeah, that's fine. AI is the quickest player ever, or he's the best player 6 feet and under. But when we just talk about you're the best, I mean, that's anything. You know, Game is the best MC who wore red on his album cover. Well, then, yeah, he's the best MC who wore red on his album cover, right? But we're just dealing with who's the best MC ever. Now we're dealing with the facts. And you got to take your favorites. And with hip-hop, most people can't do that. Most people can't remove, you know, oh, he's my favorite versus. Because Premier is probably my favorite producer, but Jay Dilla is who I think is the best. You know what I mean? So people have to learn how to separate that best and favorite thing. And most people, especially with hip-hop, do a piss-poor job of that.
Right. Hey, well, look, let's get into let's try to make this a quick hitter before we get into a quick breakdown of this NFC East action coming up in this year's NFL season. Really quickly, man, if we can keep this to, you know, a minute per take. Since the beginning, digging back to the early days of this hip hop thing, man, who do you think is one of the producers who's probably most criminally overlooked as far as their contribution to the game?
Organized Noise. out of ATL with Outkast and Goody Mob. You know, these dudes.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, these dudes gave Atlanta a sound. There was no Dirty South before Organized Noise. Not at all. I mean, these dudes made us care about down south. We didn't care about